with the cash chart. BTC, it kind of have two cycles that we're kind of messing with right here. The first is the daily, and is one more dominant than the other? Typically, the longer term cycles are a little bit more dominant. So we've been watching the fact that we failed at the bands here. We just call this wave formation. This blue bands here, the top of this is our bands in our model. So, but this cycle right here is pretty high. You know, it did a good job back here when we made some sales. Same kind of thing on another lower high pivot, just in line with this zone. So this cycle has more room to come down. Typically, this daily cycle maybe 2 to 7 days type of move, 3 to 5 day moves. So you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days down from the high, 4 to 5 days down. But this still has a lot of room to come down into October. So how do you play that? Maybe you're waiting for 6,200 or lower, another retest to 6,000. Or, you know, we've had pretty good support here right in front of 6,000. There seems to be buyers come back in. But then when you go to the 4 hour, obviously a faster signal, obviously a faster cycle. And if you bought stuff well, we said, hey, you're up here on the 4 hour, the daily cycle's high, make some sales. Now, a lot of the altcoins did have pretty strong moves off of these lows, you know, down here when we were down here. So we said, now that we've had a 4 hour pullback, we didn't want to chase some of these alts that had big moves. Like Ripple was a perfect example on the timing. Had a huge move on this cycle up. You don't chase that up there. You need to wait for this pullback. So yesterday was the bottom of that cycle. That's why we were buying stuff. So I think that was the right call. Some of the alts that had good moves, you buy them. Kind of up pretty good today, to Alex's point. I think that's the main thing with the market right now that I see.
Mm-hmm.
What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah. And I don't know what, I think it's just kind of a combination of that and some, there's been some pretty good news the last few days here. But that's kind of what I'm seeing in the markets too. Looks like a nice triple bottom here.
Yeah, that's making higher lows, which is bullish for the intermediate term. I mean, definitely intermediate term higher lows is good. We still need to get this longer term lower high trend out of the way, and then that's going to change everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris, what are your thoughts when I bring up Ripple?
No, I mean it does make sense. You have to be a little bit careful if you're trading around that 4 hour chart, though. It's not that this is the time. Well, yesterday was the time to be buying all in if you're not getting stuff up. Taking some of that off at the top of this 4 hour cycle, since we do have so much room on the daily, and it's the same thing with some of these even longer time frames like the weekly and the monthly. We were talking about this on Twitter the other day with Ethereum in particular, that it's like, oh, we went all the way down to 170 and we came all the way back up to 250. So obviously we're coming back out of it. And it's like, yeah, maybe, but we still do have that remaining bit of the end of the cycle on the monthly in particular. So it's still not out of the question to see a move all the way back down to 130. So if you are trading on that 4 hour time frame or even the daily time frame, just be aware of that and take profits when you can.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you to take profits off and then buy back in at a little bit higher. You missed out on some of those profits, but if that means you're protecting yourself from a move down to 130, that's what it's about. So
yeah, that's the right risk management. You sum that up well. We don't really have that long-term momentum. So when you do get good rallies, it makes sense to book some, if you bought stuff well. And then this Ripple chart, it's just more of the same. I mean, cyclically, look at the 8 count we had. This was the start of the move up through pi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candles later, that's your high. And then here's your 4 hour cycle back down. And we even talked about that in the room. If you did want to play Ripple after this move up, you don't chase this, but here at the bands, that's your higher low right there. Another good bounce. Whether or not we follow through, there's a lot of resistance here in this tail. If you bought well here, you got to be a seller into all of this for sure. mean, what percent move is that already? That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's something like a
25%
yeah.
already.
And the thing is, it's already starting to peak again on that 4 hour. So I don't know if it's going to even be able to break that resistance right there up around 60 cents. So you have to be playing a bit defensive on that.
I mean, we have a lot of subscribers that kind of pay for some of these signals, but Monero still looks good. We can look at relative value. We bought Binance pretty well. Chris was saying on Ether, the relative value stuff today. I actually hadn't looked at that, so I'm curious to see. Did Bitcoin Cash have a big move today?
Yeah, it just popped up like 10%.
Sure did. Dash looks cheap. BCH looks really rich. I guess you're supposed to short that, huh? Short BCH, buy BTC near term
and long term.
That's pretty strong move on 0x too. Ether looks cheap. Ether, Neo, and Dash are the cheapest. But again, we're on the top of our 4-hour cycle, so we want to look at the things that sell. If you're long Bitcoin Cash here, you got to be taking some off. I mean, look at last time Ethereum Classic stuck its head up like this. Boom, right back to the mean. We might even look at selling some 0x guys at the top of this 4-hour cycle that were long.
Yeah, and we had some pretty interesting news these last few days too. I don't know if you guys read it, but Google ends cryptocurrency ad ban, which
that's positive, right?
I mean, that's huge. Go ahead.
Alec, did they say why? Like their reasoning?
It seems like they probably just took a step back, realized there's so many ICOs going, and it's all still no ICOs. It's just certain platforms are now able to advertise on it that are cryptocurrency focused. So mostly probably the bigger exchanges, someone that can, they have some sort of legitimacy in the space.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like you actually have to go through a process of getting approved to do ads to begin with. So even if you are a cryptocurrency exchange, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to advertise. And Alec and I were talking about this earlier, is that a lot of it, I think, has to do with sort of some of the rulings in the EU, where they did change it recently that ad platforms, so places like Google and Facebook and Twitter, are now to an extent financially liable if they are pushing ads for malicious entities. So for instance, if an exchange is pushing ads and then they get hacked and they lose all their money, that obviously negatively impacts the customers that they were posting those ads to. And so they can then be kind of financially liable for that. So that's why I think they did a just blanket across the board ban on all cryptocurrency related stuff. And now they're kind of easing it back in. Still, like Alex said, ICOs are 100% out. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's the same thing. I think IPOs are also something that you can't advertise for on these platforms, probably for a lot of the same reasons. So it is a step in the right direction that we are at least able to have some ads in the space for cryptocurrency related stuff, because it's good to be in front of people like that. But it is an interesting industry. It is definitely difficult for marketing because those types of channels are closed.
And I think it kind of says something that was one of the reasons everyone was kind of pointing to start that tip off 20,000 as if a run up to 20,000 Bitcoin wasn't crazy enough on its own. People, a lot. There was a general consensus that the ad ban of Google initially was a pretty big news that could have helped tip that over. And I mean, I think it's kind of interesting just because I don't know anyone that just sees a Google ad and buys something, but I think it'll still help. I mean, just as the ecosystem as a whole, right? As soon as we start moving up, at least people will have some at least these exchanges and everything will have somewhat of market.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's good point, Alec. I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like they got so emotional, and I don't know. They get under so much heat now. They're trying to walk that back too. You know?
I'd be curious to see too. I see Bitcoin Cash popping up at about 12% right now. Be kind of curious to see how that's correlated to Bitmain, and they just filed for an IPO as of like 20 minutes ago.
Oh, it's probably linked for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the amount of
they own 1 billion, and they don't even own $1 million worth. They own 1 million Bitcoin Cash. That's a huge percentage of what their worth is in Bitcoin Cash, let alone the mining rigs for Bitcoin Cash.
So they're gonna have more capital to pump up the price, huh?
That's what it seems like. I mean, right now they're kind of just like the reserve of Bitcoin Cash. It seems like pretty heavy control on the price when you think about it, because I mean, what's the use of Bitcoin Cash right now? The only use of Bitcoin Cash is to buy mining rigs, right? So they have influence on a huge percentage of the overall, circulation of the currency, and they control the only use case for the currency. So I don't know. It's some pretty interesting dynamics to play with. I don't know. It seems like just go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it just seems like I would just kind of be careful if you're really thinking about Bitcoin Cash or getting involved in something with with Bitmain. I don't know. It just seems a little iffy with the amount of control they have over the currency.
Well, and people are a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I don't follow that. I don't know if gossip's the right word, but just the social opinion about some of the leaders around that project. I mean, it seems pretty negative. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean it's for a rightful reason too. Yeah, I mean, you can't judge a currency. You can't judge these protocols by a leader, because they really don't have leaders. But Bitcoin Cash does just kind of what I kind of broke down with Bitmain. They do definitely have more leader than other currencies, which is something you just have to watch. Because then you kind of have to rely on how fair is Bitmain playing, right? And that equates to how successful Bitcoin Cash is how well this giant company is, as greedy as they might be.
And regardless of the fundamentals or the news or storytelling, there's no reason why this coin can't take off. I mean, we've had some good trades on it, I think, and there are some people. I mean, there's individuals that we know that are miners that have to, when they want to buy a shipment, they got to move to BCH. So they do trade this and have positions. And I think from here, this is the weekly chart. So the cycles have been all low. This thing has just been really kind of pushed to the mat. It's kind of like a volleyball underwater. At some point you can pop it right back up. I think this 658 level is big. If you get above the 8 on the weekly is big, and then the daily. What I was going to say today, if I'm long, this is a pretty good higher low. You really got to watch this resistance at 510. We got a little bit that we're long. I might actually take it off here into this resistance. If it gets above, you can kind of see it on the 4-hour better. If it gets above there, then you just put it right back on. Because we start trading above 510, then you're probably going back to 652. And then that's going to really look a lot different longer term if you're above 652. But this 4-hour chart, if you guys are long Bitcoin Cash coming in today, I wouldn't be shy of selling it in front of into this 200, into all this resistance. And then if you do get above it, you can always get back in. You'd be glad if you sell and then we back off and we're back down to 440. You can just rebuy.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was saying. It's oh no, you lost out on $20 worth of profit if you sell right then, and then it does in fact go up past 510 or so, 500. At that point, great, just buy back in. You lost out on that $20 versus if we pull all the way back down to 400,
right?
That's it's way more risk. So
Yeah, exactly.
don't be shy to take those profits.
And you can't chase it here, right in front of the 200, right in front of this resistance. Because, yeah, it's Chris, to your point. I mean, you're back down 10% pretty quick. But this is a real money candle in our model, so our guys know that's a pretty strong statement by the bulls. So, yeah, let's watch that pivot for sure, 510. And then you got Pi at 520.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I can't wait for some sort of with like Samsung and all these other companies getting in the mining game. It's gonna be a whole different ecosystem, whole different marketplace in a few years.
Yeah,
And then
we had some cool immersion talks yesterday with some miners.
Yeah, it's always cool technologies going on. Just anything to make it more efficient. Which me and Chris were talking about yesterday. What was it yesterday? The day before, about mining and how all the different innovations when it comes to like green energy and energy efficiency, what it can lead to. It's not a waste of energy, obviously, because it does have a use case. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty good roundup today. I don't have to go much longer than this.
All right.
If you guys want to, figure out what we're doing, how we're trading, Disruptive has a great course. I'm in it. Jason's in it. And come in the forum. Come ask questions. And
guys, Disruptive with a Z.
Yeah, I love the name.
Like the first letter in Alex's last name. That if you can pronounce, we'll give you some BTZs.
Hey, yeah, I know, right? It's
I'm not pronounce it correctly though.
All right. Well, until next time, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Catch up with you guys later. Good stuff. Bye.